Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Leona Agaritas, and I am the Executive Director of the Golden Triangle Business Improvement District. The rain today is cold, the sky is gray, and the air is frigid, but it's a beautiful day in the Golden Triangle. Yeah. Because today we celebrate a big step forward in the transformation of this neighborhood to a world-class mixed-use area. And thank you, Mayor Bowser and Deputy Mayor Falchicchio, for celebrating this important day with us. And thank you so much for your leadership, your vision, and your support for the Golden Triangle. For nearly 3 years, all of us have been pummeled by the COVID pandemic, and it has changed this neighborhood forever. But today's groundbreaking is a symbol of this neighborhood's resilience, and it's an opportunity to come back better and stronger than we were before. The new Golden Triangle will include more residents, more green spaces for people to enjoy, and a tech sector that fosters innovation and job growth. Residents here will live close to museums, restaurants, shops, cultural institutions, and parks. And while they can walk to work, there are lots of places to work around here, they can also walk to Metro at Farragut West, hop on a train, and go to Dulles and fly anywhere in the world, just in a quick couple of trip transfers. I want to thank Gary and Richard Cohen for being true vanguards in the neighborhood, for taking this leap and paving the way for more mixed-use conversions in the Golden Triangle. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Richard Cohen, principal owner of Wilco. Mr. Cohen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. In 1959, when this office building was first dreamed of by Mr. Fisher and my dad, William Cohen, this neighborhood and the whole city were quite different. Across the street, catty corner, was the DuPont junkyard. And up and down L Street and 19th Street were houses that were built in the 30s and 40s, and quite a few of them had livestock living in the yards, pigs, chickens, and goats. This is what you might call the rural area, if there was such a thing in our city. For those of you familiar with office rents, we leased this building to the federal government for $4.90 a square foot, full service. Well, thankful to our forward-thinking administration led by Mayor Bowser and others like her, our city has transformed that rural area to what it is now and what it will become soon under Mayor Bowser's leadership. She has made a wonderful place to work, and the Central District is returning to that wonderful place where people want to live. And now my son Gary will talk about what's next in the life of 1111 20th Street. Thank you all very much.
So first of all, with all due respect to Mayor Bowser, I want to welcome the most important person here, my mother. Okay. All right. So it's important to recognize what my father just said. The Golden Triangle returning to a place where people want to live. In 1965, when my grandfather, William Cohen, and his partner, Greenhood Fisher, built this building, they decided to name it the Vanguard, because it was the first high-rise office building in this part of town. Other landowners and developers followed suit, and the Golden Triangle was born. Here we are, almost 60 years later, creating another Vanguard, L Apartments. 163 units with 8,000 square feet of retail that will reactivate this corner into a 24-hour destination where people will live, work, and play. I want to thank the Golden Triangle Business Improvement District, and especially Leona, for her passionate and spirited support in helping make this vision become a reality. I also want to thank Brooke Pinto for standing behind our project. We are very lucky to have such a great development team. PGN Architects and McCulloch Construction, two homegrown Washington firms that have designed and built many beautiful multifamily buildings throughout the city. To my father, without you, this building would have fallen on hard times a long time ago. Your philosophy of being patient and conservative is the only reason we have this opportunity today. Mayor Bowser, you and your administration have been tremendous in leading this city through an unprecedented time in history. Your willingness to come to the table to listen to developers on the importance of repurposing their office buildings into multifamily in order to keep the people in the city and strengthen our tax base is an example of the kind of opportunities we can create when we all work together. As a third-generation Washingtonian, I truly appreciate you and your administration's willingness to think outside the box so Washington can continue to be a great city for many more generations to come. With that, I'd like to introduce Mayor Bowser.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank Gary for that lovely introduction. And as cold as it is and wet, I'm going to talk fast. And Leona, we're just very proud of you for the work that you have done to help the Golden Triangle through the pandemic, have a vision for the future, and the know-how to really get things done. So, Leona, thank you very much. I, too, want to recognize my team, Deputy Mayor Falchicchio, our team at DMPED, for working so hard with our businesses on what we think, and maybe Richie will agree with me, it's a great opportunity. We have a great opportunity to change the mix of uses in the downtown, in the Golden Triangle, so we're not only having beautiful commercial buildings and workers, but we will have more DC residents calling this neighborhood and these buildings home. And we also are grateful for pioneers who are going to help show everybody else how it's done. So once complete, we know that the L Apartments will allow residents to live near their work, adding 160 apartments downtown, restaurant, rooftop pool, and dog park. And all people that live here will be able to shop here as well. So one of the lessons that we learned during the pandemic was that our city and our downtown will be more resilient when we have a better mix of uses. Our downtown now is 92% commercial and only 8% residential. And we can even see around the city in other commercial corridors that have a better mix of commercial and residential, more vibrancy. So as we focus, and we will be very keenly focused in the next 4 years on how we bring back that vibrancy to the downtown and create a 24/7 economy. We know that conversions like this one can be tough. And we also know that we have the talent in our business community to take on these tough challenges. So we're happy that Wilco stepped up to this challenge. We encourage more property owners to follow their lead and think about and come up with the projects that will help transform these spaces. So starting next year, the Housing in Downtown Abatement Program will provide property tax relief for new residential projects in our central business district. So we are looking forward to not only talking about these conversions, but partnering on great projects that bring more people to the best downtown anywhere in the world, downtown Washington, D.C. So thank you, everybody. And with that, I'm going to ask John to say a little bit more about our abatement program, how you can get involved, and we'll take a few questions. John.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Let's hear it for Mayor Bowser. And I'm going to try to embarrass someone and bring him up here as well. So Ernest Chopra, the director of the Department of Buildings, let's have him come up as well. Thank him for his work. So one of the things that we know is that with conversions, it's not easy to do. This is one of the very first true conversions where we're taking the bones of the building and we're using it to go from commercial to residential. And it takes the Department of Buildings and their flexibility in making sure that we can deliver residential units to have a little bit of give and take with folks like the Cohen family to make sure that we can actually deliver this residential. So they don't hear it often, but let's hear it for the Department of Buildings. And why that's so important. So Leona knows that there are only, in this Golden Triangle bid, in this neighborhood, there's only 36, is that right? Residential units right now. And we're going to deliver over 150 right here. So I'm not that fast with math, but I think it's 5 times as many units when this project is done. So it's so important. And one of the things we know in 2019, Howard University did a study with our CFO's office, and they said that if Mayor Bowser is successful on her housing production goals, that it'll mean for our residents that rents stay 5.6% lower than they would without that housing production. So all housing that we produce lends itself to housing affordability. We also know that when housing is built in downtown, as Mayor Bowser alluded to, we want to be able to capture some of that for affordable, dedicated affordable housing. And so we have a new tax abatement early next year. I'm told maybe even as early as January. I'm looking at the staff, Ben and Sharon, they're shaking their heads. We will have the draft regulations for the housing in downtown tax abatement. What that will be is a 20-year tax abatement that will require that we deliver 15% of the units at 60% of the median family income. And then that tax abatement will run for 20 years, and the covenant on those affordable units will run for 20 years as well. So we want those who are interested in taking projects like this. I can't imagine who the mayor, or maybe it was the commissioner at the time in the 1959 groundbreaking for this building, probably said, "What are you guys doing building across from the junkyard?" And there's people today who are probably saying to the Cohen family again, "What are you doing going to residential?" But this is what we need. We need to have a greater mix of residential right here in downtown. The mayor cited 92%. We have to get that a lot lower, and we got to get that 8% of uses being residential. We have to get that a lot higher. So with that, we know that'll be part of the ingredients to the comeback in downtown. So look out for that housing in downtown regs that will come out in January. Thank you, Ben and Sharon. And then keep working with the Department of Buildings to make sure that we can continue to deliver more of these conversions and more residential to downtown. With that, I'll turn it back to Mayor Bowser for questions.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Okay. Do we have any questions? Yes, Mark.
If I could start with Mr. Cohen first.
Sure.
Elder or junior, whichever. I'm wondering if you could kind of give us the reality. You know, we've heard, this isn't the first time we've heard people saying, "Oh, we have all this empty office space, we should convert it to housing." And the answer was always, it was too expensive, that office buildings weren't built to accommodate showers and bathrooms and kitchens and whatnot. And obviously we see you're pretty much gutted this entire building. So can you just talk about the logistics of the cost and return of investment of converting from office space and the reality of having empty office space versus taking this project on and then converting it to housing?
So it is still very expensive, no matter how you look at it. But, there's a lot of core drilling that has to get done. Luckily, this isn't a post-tension building, which makes life a little easier. We have a great team of architects that figured out how to design 163 apartments that have light and air. And we're on a corner, which helps. We have 4 sides because of a private alley that we own right over there. But we also thought that although it's going to be very expensive, we believe that people want to be down in D.C. They may not want to work down here as much, but they want to live down here. People like being in this environment. And the rental market, the way it is, we think we're going to be able to accomplish good rental numbers to make it work. And also, you know, in full disclosure, we've owned the building since 1965. So our cost basis is probably lower than most. And we plan on owning this building for another 50 years. So we're in it for the long haul.
Mayor Bowser, could I ask you?
Sure.
One, so let's say you're successful and you convert the neighborhood and, you know, people start moving in. That's going to mean they're going to need schools, things that the neighborhood doesn't currently have. So, I mean, I know that's long term, but is that part of your vision that if creating a residential community down here where there are only a handful now and increasing it fivefold with just one building, you know, you do the math over time, they're going to need support services that aren't currently in these communities?
Absolutely, Mark. As part of any long-term planning that we do, whether it's our comprehensive plans, small area plans, and John will speak a little bit more about the what the Office of Planning is doing to support our vision. Have we announced our goal yet for the downtown? Oh, okay. So we'll announce a goal.
Don't break news. Don't break news. Don't break news.
I didn't think we had. Otherwise, I would already have the answer to that question. But what we will do, Mark, what we're formulating right now is looking at the downtown. And I really wanted to give Leona a big shout out because she's been very forward thinking. Because what I am considering, you know, the central business districts is, you know, a lot of different little neighborhoods, and I personally think we may need to concentrate our efforts in several nodes. And so that's why it's important for the Golden Triangle to get out ahead. Because when we want to partner on projects, we want to get the best bang for the partly for the reasons that you mentioned. If we're concentrating residents in nodes, then we know that we can have all of the supportive government services. We currently have schools that serve downtown residents, and if our planning suggests that we need to do more, then we'll do more.
Can I
Yes.
ask another question about the landlords who currently are experiencing pretty high rates of vacancy, but also are paying their property taxes downtown? Is there any, you know, we've seen this around the country. It's not limited to D.C. by any stretch of the imagination, but we've seen in other jurisdictions where landlords are complaining that they just can't keep up with the taxes because they just don't have the tenants anymore. Is there any thought being given to giving any tax relief or any kind of a break to these downtown landlords or of office spaces who are sitting on all this empty space, really because of the pandemic, perhaps, and just the shift to telework and whatnot, that could give them some relief?
Well, I don't. I'll ask John to talk a little bit more specifically about vacancy. And some of the space that's empty is not vacant. Okay, so you may see fewer workers, but their employers still have leases. And those leases are still in effect, and some of them are going to roll off over the years. And so, of course, property owners are concerned about their property values, and we have a way of assessing property values through our CFO's office that considers all of the contexts that you've just mentioned. So we're going to continue to follow that process. And what we hope, and we will continue to hope, is that our property owners don't continue to see more vacancy. And they're in long-term agreements, some of them. So we're going to keep working. But what we also know is that we're not going to have as many workers in the downtown as we had before the pandemic. So our job is to make sure that we are getting more people in the downtown, more people to live. And quite frankly, we like having residents, you know, people who are DC residents and pay DC income taxes. That's fantastic. So for this project, converting from office to residential, we think can actually be a win for the city's bottom line. And changing the ratio of commercial to residential in the downtown for the same reason can be a win for the downtown. So we'll keep working with that. Our property owners, you're talking to a long-term owner. You said 1965 doing business on this corner. They're going to know, they're going to have some great ideas about how to get the most out of their property. So we want to work with our property owning community, with our city programs, as well as with our efforts to attract more employers. We can't leave that out of the equation. So the other part of DMPED's responsibility is attracting more business and industry to Washington, D.C., which is a great, we know it's a great place to do business. Workers want to be in the city, live in the city, raise their families in the city. So we're going to keep doing that job as well. Any other questions? All right. So with that, I want to also acknowledge our ANC Commissioner, Mike Silverstein. Give Mike a big round of applause. Thank you for being here. And we'll see you more in the downtown talking about housing. Thank you, everybody.